pugilistic linguistics. Check out the 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 pugilistic linguistics. Check out.
Hey, what's up, y'all? What's up? Welcome to the Pugilistic Linguistic Show. I am your host, Michael Foster, the voice of reason in an increasingly unreasonable world. And I am back for another one. Before I get started, like I say all the time, tell your friends, tell your Romans, tell your countrymen about this podcast. Get it out to the masses. I'll try to blow it up in 2024. You know, go tell somebody that you know. Go stand in the middle of the street and yell that you need to listen to this podcast. Even if you hate it with somebody else. Don't ever hate alone. Friends don't let friends hate by themselves. So hate with somebody. But tell everybody about this podcast, man. Get it out there. So today I'm going to, first of all, my voice is a little bit better, so thankfully. But today it's actually Wednesday when I'm recording this. And the presidential debate was last night. So I want to talk about that and its many implications. I'm going to run the gamut from soup to nuts. First thing I want to say is I haven't seen a beatdown that badly since the Bears beat the Patriots in Super Bowl 20. Okay? Or the Niners beat the Broncos. That was an absolute beatdown last night. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous before the debate. Not because I was wondering or nervous about Kamala Harris's ability. She's a prosecutor by nature. She is, and a prosecutor's job is to present the case in front of them to the masses to prosecute the case. So I wasn't necessarily worried about her ability to prosecute the case or present a case for her to be president or present a case for why Donald Trump should not be president and a combination of the two. I wasn't worried about that. I was just concerned that she would not do it in a way that will make a clear delineation between the two. I was worried whether she would get caught up in Donald Trump's schmutz. You know what he calls the weave these days, his inability to stay on task, his inability to stay focused and to go everywhere. I was worried that she would get caught up in that and try to, navigate that mess. She came out a little, shaky up front. She was nervous. I'm sure she was. But once she gained her footing in about 10, 15 minutes, I wasn't worried anymore. Because she had a rock solid plan. I'm going to hit Trump, and I'm going to continue to hit Trump in ways he's not going to like, and basically bait him into being Trump. And that's how she played this game. And frankly, a game different than I've seen any other politician play against Trump or in general. The first time I cast a vote was for Bill Clinton in 92. And so I'm 32 years in? 8 election cycles in? And I find myself very interested and intrigued more than anything in the entire process. Kamala Harris, and I want to say, well, I'll say this first. Kamala Harris, in my estimation, and I'm no political pundit, I'm no strategist, I'm none of that. I'm just a dude with a microphone and two eyes that work sometimes. Kamala Harris, to this point, has run probably one of the most flawless campaigns I've ever seen anyone run. Now, we could chalk it up to the fact that she's run a concentrated campaign to where she hasn't had a lot of downtime to make many mistakes. There's an argument to be made there. But I also think, along with that, because I do think that's a major part of it, I also think that the fact that she, even though she says she was surprised by Joe Biden's sudden retirement, for lack of a better word, I really think in the back of her mind, she had a bunch of what if. What would I do? WWKD. What would Kamala do? What would I do if I'm running this campaign, or if this was my campaign? So when it became her campaign, she didn't have time to think, okay, what do I do now? She had been thinking about what I do now for a while, or what would I do now for a while. So to that end, I think she's running one of the most flawless campaigns that I've seen. The choice of Tim Walz was inspired. Was it universally, roundly applauded at the time? No, because it was so unorthodox. Tim Walz did not come across as the rising star in the Democratic Party. You know, Pete Buttigieg, who I personally would have liked. Not saying I don't like Walz. At the time, that's who I would have liked. But America's head would have exploded with a black woman and a gay man on the same ticket. That's too much for America. Josh Shapiro would have been a good choice. You know, Barack Obama light. But the problem with that ticket, it would have just reeked of elitism. You know, they both would have come across as elitist, fairly or unfairly. They are both very educated, highly educated, well-spoken, good-looking people who may not have appealed to middle America more than they already don't appeal to middle America. So I think they would have come across as too elitist. The Mark Kellys of the world, I like Kelly. I think he has a good resume. I don't quite know how charismatic he is. He's J.D. Vance without the cringeworthy sound bites. So I think Tim Walz was inspired. He appeals to the right people. He fills a hole in her campaign that her, being the very nature of who she is, instinctively or inherently had. But the selection of Tim Walz was inspired. The way she is running her campaign on joy and hope and we can do better. America needs to hold itself to a higher standard than Donald Trump. Is a great way to contrast the doom and gloom of the Trump campaign. The fundraising, the TikToking, the mobilization of Generation Z, and you know, just the appeal of a Kamala, which is funny because Kamala Harris is almost 60. But you would never know that, one, because black don't crack. First of all, she don't look like a 60-year-old woman. She's 58, but first of all, black don't crack. But secondly, the contrast between a visibly old Donald Trump makes her look even younger. She appeals to folk. And then between that and the missteps of Trump's campaign, abortion is going to come back and bite him in the ass. Period. He thought he was clever and doing what's it's going to bite him in the ass. J.D. Vance, as inspired as Tim Walz's selection was, J.D. Vance is the absolute opposite. It's one thing to just not have charisma. You know, you can't make that. But J.D. Vance is on the next level of dull. Like he has no ability to relate to humans, other humans. It's I don't even know what the word is, uncanny. It's baffling how Tim Walz can walk into a onesie shop in Nebraska and get everybody enthused to talk to him. We're climbing over each other to talk to him. And J.D. Vance walked into a donut shop in Valdosta, Georgia, and nobody wants to be on camera with him. The juxtaposition between the two is undeniable. But all that being said, I think last night was the coup de grace for Trump's campaign. Now, if you know anything about what a coup de grace is, a coup de grace is basically a death blow. And last night was ugly. But it was glorious. I watched the debate, and toward the end, I was looking at Kamala like that Simpsons meme. Stop, he's already dead. Stop beating him. For the love of God. Stop bashing his head in. And watching her toy with him, it's literally like watching a cat play with a mouse or play with a toy. And I use the word, and I'm bringing up cats intentionally, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But it legitimately was like watching a cat play with a toy. Cats play with things until they kill them. And then they lose interest and walk away. A cat doesn't play with a mouse to kill him. He's just toying with him. That's what they do. They toy with things. Kamala Harris toyed with Donald Trump last night. She just, pardon my French, and I'm going to get really gangster rappish, but as King T said, played him like a fucking piano. It started at the beginning. So I wondered how she would come at him. I wondered if she was going to give him too much respect. Or would she treat him, or would she meet him where he lived? And thankfully for us, she met him where he lived. She had the right dose of petty. She was presidentially petty. She walked out, or they walked out, and she went right up to him and shook his hand. He did not want to shake her hand, to the point to where he didn't even leave with his lectern. She had to walk to the other side of the stage to shake his hand. Shook his hand and introduced herself, Kamala Harris. Now, at that moment, she essentially said, "Say my name wrong now, sucker. You know my name, Kamala Harris, just in case." And from there, it went downhill for Trump. As she settled in and got comfortable, I settled in and got comfortable and could watch and enjoy. Because she played him like a flute. And what was so important about her playing him like a flute was the simplicity, the ease in which she played him. If she can so easily play him and manipulate him, what do you think Vladimir Putin is doing to her? Or Kim Jong-un? Or what's the cat over in Hungary that he loves to, I can't think of his, Viktor Orban. If Kamala Harris can play him so easily, what do you think them cats can do to him? And she made reference to that in the debate, that Putin would eat you for lunch. Now, I personally think that he got some dead hooker pictures with him or something like that. I think that's a part of it. But beyond that, he's just so easily manipulated. So she comes out, shakes his hand, whatever, and they get into the discussion. And for a while, they were punching and counterpunching. You know, they were relatively even. I think she came out. She's a little bit ahead, whatever. But then, master stroke of, all right, I'm done playing with you. You know how you watch a boxing match, and for the first, I don't know, couple rounds, the fighters are kind of feeling each other out. So you see, maybe you might see a lot of dancing around the ring just to see how you move. They can see how, so he can see how you move, and it's a delicate dance around for the first couple rounds, until somebody lands a punch or something happens to where one of the fighters says, "Wait a minute, I'm done playing with this cat. He is not on my level. I got this dude." You could kind of see Kamala get there when she started making reference to Trump's rallies. Now, the fact that he is so easily manipulated and is so obsessed with crowd size, like Barack Obama said, she knew that would get him. And the best part about it was natural. It wasn't something that was out the blue that you can tell she was trying to get to. It flowed naturally in the conversation. She says, "I encourage y'all to go to a Trump rally. Go check him out." And then you'll see how people get bored and leave, and people walk out of his rallies en masse and all that. She knew that would trigger him and would get him off his game. And sure enough, she dangles the bait. Trump swims over to it and couldn't resist. So now we get into crowd size argument, when I think the conversation was immigration or something like that. Oh, before that, yeah. Before that, the best way to take the steam out of somebody's argument is to tell everybody what he's going to say before he says it. Kamala basically says Trump is going to talk a whole lot about immigration, even when immigration is not the topic. He's going to bring it up all the time, over and over and over again. But here's the truth behind it. Now, when he goes there, it has less steam because I told you what he was going to do. It's almost as if Trump has been playing the same game for the last 10 years. It's almost as if you knew what he's going to do before he does it. It's almost as if his act has gotten old and stale. So all through the course of the debate, abortion and economics and immigration, she is just dropping the foo pops on him. Bow, bow, bow. Just giving it to him raw. And he was getting more and more unhinged, more and more frustrated. And he did the one thing that I'm like, okay, yeah, Kamala, okay, stop. Okay, just stop. He's dead already. When Trump made reference to a widely debunked Facebook post that Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, were eating cats. Donald Trump actually made reference to a debunked Facebook post by somebody's sister-in-law's baby cousin Tracy during a presidential debate. It was so outrageous that Kamala actually started laughing at him. You kidding me, right? And ABC, the moderators, look, y'all props, because they had already done their due diligence on that. She said, look, we called the city manager in Springfield. There's no credible evidence of anything like this happening. Essentially saying, man, what the hell are you talking about? You know damn well that ain't true. That's essentially what the man said. You know damn well. When he went there, I knew it was over. It's over. You won, Kamala. It's over. After that, everything was funny because he started yelling and screaming and ranting and raging, and it was just funny after that. And the thing about it is, the more unhinged he got, the funnier it became. If the threat of Trump getting reelected wasn't so grave and so dire, this would be absolutely comical. But at the end of the day, through all of this race is still close. And that blows my mind. It leads me to something I said previously. Americans are stupid. We're stupid and we don't respect the responsibilities that we are tasked with. The fact that this race isn't over, like Reagan-Mondale level over. 84. The fact that this isn't over is astonishing to me. But I do understand on some level why it isn't over, because, then it's going to hurt my chances to get on mainstream TV, but white folk are too easily frightened. And they want to align themselves with somebody that hates the same people that he hates, or they hate. There's no other There was a CNN poll, not a poll, but a panel. 3 undecided voters from last night. No. This was a different one. It was like 10 or 12 of them. And this one woman said, I'm more inclined to vote for Donald Trump because his economy was better. I was better off 4 years ago. And I kind of want to jump through the screen and grab her by her throat and say, do you remember 2020? Were you there in 2020? Well, prices were lower. Yeah, because wasn't nobody going anywhere. It's amazing how you forget context. Yeah, gas was $1.20 a gallon because nobody was buying gas. Why? There was nowhere to go. We were in the midst of the worst pandemic in over a century, and you liked it because bread was 79 cents a loaf. But what they're not realizing is, yeah, don't get it shook. The economy is not in a great place. It's better than where it was. Inflation is high, it's coming down, and prices are up. That's undeniable. But you need to understand something. Where were we when they got in the office? You got to fix that mess and then deal with the fallout. And no, it's not pretty sometimes. But do you remember 2020? What's the context around why the economy was quote unquote better? Things was cheaper, okay? Unemployment was at 80%. Unemployment was at 8% though. But things were cheaper. Yeah, but everything was closed. And let's keep it 100. A recent story about Kroger grocery stores artificially inflating their prices of goods over inflation is probably the reason why groceries are more expensive now. Look at the correlation. You're paying more for stuff. And the companies you're paying more to are declaring record profits. How you don't realize those have a correlation to each other goes to show how stupid we as Americans are. Kroger admitted in an internal email that they jacked their prices of goods above inflation. So they're charging more for stuff than the stuff is costing them. I didn't have numbers, but the idea is inflation's 3%, they're charging 5% more for stuff, or 7% more for stuff. Then in turn, they got enough money to buy Albertsons or something. Come on, man. How about you get mad at the folk that deserve it as opposed to the people who can't control? Kamala Harris can't control what Kroger does to your grocery bill. Price gouging is illegal. And that's exactly what they're doing to you. They're gouging you. And they know they can do it because you'll blame the government as opposed to the ones that are actually doing it. That's amazing to me. And I, for one, will never shop at Kroger again. And I encourage you all not to either. Maybe if they come clean in their practices, maybe. That's a conversation for a different day. Another thing that really bothers me about the fallout with the debate. Well, Kamala was light on policy. She was light on how she would do the stuff that she said she would do. Okay, wait a minute. You first complained there are no policies. So she publishes a shit ton of policies on her webpage and brings up some of them last night in the debate. Now you complain that she didn't flesh out the policies enough. Just say you're not going to vote for her and move on. Because Donald Trump didn't have any policies. As a matter of fact, when pressed about a policy he'd pursue, and I believe it was health care, he said, and I quote, "I don't have a plan. I have the ideas of a plan, or the framework of a plan," something like that. He flat out said he has no plan for health care, of which he's still hot to repeal Obamacare. But he said he had no plan. Go back to last week when he spoke in front of them economic people about his child care answer. Well, child care is child care, and we're going to raise enough money in tariffs that'll cover child care. That was essentially what he said. That's a plan? That's a policy you can get behind? I don't understand. You mad at Kamala because she doesn't flesh out her policies, yet Donald Trump has no policies. But you okay with him. Help me out here. Help me out. Where exactly is the goal line here? Where are the goalposts? Do they move, or are they in the same spot for both of them? Let me know how the game is played so I know the rules. How many standards do we have here? Look, my mama told me a long time ago when I was a kid that in order for you to be judged as fairly as a white person, you got to be twice as good. Now, I don't know if they still teach this in black households, but when I was coming up, I can't tell you how many black households taught something like that. You have to be twice as good as a white man to be viewed as equal. And looking at the way you all judge Kamala versus Trump, it's that saying is absolutely true in practice as we speak. Why? Because Kamala Harris has to go back and front to back with her policies and have everything figured out right now in order to get credit for anything. And in order to be taken seriously. She has to have policies, procedures, programs, and everything figured out right now, or less not be taken seriously. Donald Trump, he's got to be upright to finish the sentence. That's all he needs. That's all Barack Obama had to be editor of Harvard Law Review and state senator and U.S. senator and community organizer and all this constitutional law dude and all this in order to be considered for president. Kamala Harris had to be district attorney, assistant district attorney, attorney general of the largest state in the country, U.S. senator, vice president, in order to be considered for president. Donald Trump had to be rich and white. And that's it. Tell me how many standards we're working with here. So it bugs me. Well, I don't know her. I don't know Kamala. I can't vote for her. Well, I'm thinking about it because I don't know her. But you know Trump, and you still consider him. That's mind-blowing to me. But beyond that computer you have in your hand, log out of TikTok, go onto Google, and look her up. If you really wanted to know her, or know about her or know her policies or know her if you really wanted to, a 30-second Google search will give you everything you need. But just like a typical American, you want everybody to tell you what you want to know. Go get it yourself. You have a computer in your hand. This is the information age. Ignorance is a choice. I'm going to say that one more again. This is the information age. Ignorance is a choice. If you choose not to, if you sit there and say 50 some odd days before the election that I still don't know who she is, then that's my choice. That's my choice. Just say that. Don't blow smoke up my ass. Just say that. I don't want to get to know her. I don't think a woman can run this country. Okay, cool. Say that. We can debate you on that fact. Or we can just look at you with pity and disdain and scorn and mock and walk away. Either way, be honest. I need to get all these policy programs from her. I need to get all this from her in order for me to be convinced. All Donald Trump has to do is just inhale and exhale air. That's good enough for me. Be honest. So, that debate last night was a bloodbath. Like, I loved it, don't get me wrong. But by the end, I actually felt a little pity for Donald Trump because he was completely out of his league. Like this one podcaster said, Kamala Harris is playing chess. Donald Trump was playing duck, duck, goose. Just out of his league. You ever Anyway, I'm going to get on down. Google it. Google her. Google me, Chuck. What Shaq said to Charles Barkley one day. Google me. You've got a computer in your hand. There's no reason why you don't know who Kamala Harris is. Unless it's by choice. And if it's by choice, just say that. But get out, register, go vote. Maybe not yet, but when it's time to come, go vote. Also, as a quick aside, let's get rid of this electoral college shit. It's just ridiculous. It's 2024. It was written in the 1790s. Let's get rid of it. It serves no useful purpose. That might be my next one. But anyway, I'm bid y'all adieu. It's time for me to get on down, and until we meet again, I'll just say peace.
Pugilistic linguistics, check out the 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 pugilistic linguistics, check out